How do you cope when you have no one to talk to? Look, I'm not going to pretend like I have the answer to this question, but I do want to talk about it. And I want to talk about it because today I saw a meme on Facebook, of course, that really kind of highlighted an issue for me. And it's an issue that I agree with. Now, the meme was nothing special. It was just kind of like your regular conversation meme. And it was basically saying how people with mental illnesses, a lot of times they reach out and they ask for help. And what they get in return is people saying, I can't talk right now. I have something else to do. Or just deal with it. Like, you'll figure it out. Or things will be fine. You'll be okay. But then when that same person turns around and ends their life, then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, mental illness is a real thing. We need to do something about it and reach out for help and talk to your friends. And okay, but that's what they did. Tell me if you can relate to this, because I know I have had many times when I felt totally alone and isolated with a problem that I didn't really think other people would understand, but I still reached out for help and felt like the help that I received wasn't helpful. And I've also had times where I didn't even bother to reach out for help because the pain of not feeling like somebody could relate in that moment was too much. Now, I'm not so naive as to think that everybody else in my life, it's their responsibility to help me. And I don't think that you are either. I think you know that. I think we all understand that people have lives and people have their own issues. And this is the problem with this idea that we have out there that, well, everybody who has a mental illness just needs to reach out and talk to somebody, and we all should just listen. I mean, that's great. I love that idea, but it's kind of a utopian vision of the world that I don't think is realistic. I mean, just think about it. Let's say you're in one of those moods where you feel like you can't deal with your own problems, and maybe you're incredibly frustrated. Maybe you have pressures on you. Maybe somebody's bothering you. Maybe you're quickly trying to get somewhere, whatever it is. If somebody reaches out for help in that moment, chances are you don't have the capacity to help them. And there's a lot of times when people reach out for my help and I can't help them. I either just don't have the energy, I'm in the middle of something, or I don't even know what to say. Like, I just don't know the person well enough and I don't have the time to get to know the person. Now, before this gets too helpless, I do want to say, and I'm sure we're all aware of it by now, but there are hotlines that you can call and there are places you can text and there's things that you can do. And I know in the moment, because I've had these moments, I know you feel like, well, what are they going to do? Or you feel like, my problem's not that important, and I've made these same excuses, and I have not used these services myself as of yet. But I do want to encourage you, and as much as I'm saying this to you, I'm saying this to myself, that if something is that bad, then use the service. That's what the service is there for. Those people are trained. They know what to say. They know how to help you in as best as they can. That's what they're there for. But I do think we have to think about this problem because there is this idea out there that, well, if you just reach out, then everything's going to get better. And it's so far from the truth. Things don't just magically get better because you call a hotline or because you talk to a friend. That might be enough to get you through that hour. It might be enough to get you through that day. You might be able to get through the month. But it's not going to address the systemic problems that are going on with your mental health. Maybe your people around you that are affecting your mental health. Maybe your situation. Perhaps you live in poverty, for example. Mental health doesn't just exist in a vacuum. Mental health doesn't just happen in somebody's brain. We interact with each other. Mental health is social. And in this respect, I think it's great that we're encouraging people to talk and listen to each other and have empathy for each other. But it's not enough to think that each individual person's going to solve it. Now, you might say, well, that's what therapists are for. That's why we have things like hospitals. But that's also very unrealistic. First of all, there's a lot of areas in this country and across the world where therapists aren't available, or they're too expensive, or the ones that are available suck. Sometimes there's extremely long wait times, and a lot of people wait to go to see somebody until they're already in a crisis. So they can't wait another couple of months to a year to go see somebody. That's ridiculous. And what I'm really saying is that we have issues with mental health care across the board, across the world, and we should just recognize that. Who's feeling me on this? Okay, but let's step down from all of that for now and get back to what you're here for. How do you cope when there's nobody that you can talk to? As I said, I've been in this situation many times, and I don't even know if I have an answer here, because there's a lot of times where I don't cope. I kind of just fall apart. And then time goes by and I'm still here. That's really the best explanation I have for what I've experienced. And really, sometimes that's all I can do is tell myself, you know what? It sucks. It's gonna suck. But you'll still be here, and eventually, sometime, the mood will change, something will change. And it's really hard to tell yourself that when you are in the middle of something like a really bad depression. That's not comforting. That's not something that motivates you to continue. But that's really all I can do for myself sometimes, and sometimes it's enough. But something else that I would say that you could try to do is, and I think there are a lot of things that you can try to do, but these are just some things that I try to do, is reach out to people. You know, I mean, I just spent a little rant there saying how that's not the best thing to do, but let's walk through this for a second, because I will reach out to people and I'll find that these people are not very helpful. So if you find that you're reaching out to somebody who's totally unhelpful and makes you feel worse, I would say stop reaching out to that person. I know that sends the wrong message, and I know it really doesn't help you, but if it's hurting your mental health even more, you're probably better off just not reaching out to that person anymore. However, if you're like me and you feel like you really don't have anybody else that you can reach out to about this specific thing that you're talking about, or maybe you just don't trust other people, whatever it is. And even if this person hurts you and they're not the best person to reach out to, if they're really the only person you feel like you can reach out to, if you feel like you can't reach out to a hotline or something, then sometimes, at least for myself, I do find it's helpful, even if that person is not the best supporter of me, to just express it to them, just get it out there, and then maybe don't even read what they have to say back. I know that sounds kind of weird, and I know for a lot of people, maybe it's better to write it down in a journal, or maybe say comforting things to yourself, like have a conversation with yourself, which again, maybe that sounds weird, but it works for some people. But for me, it's usually not enough to just hold on to it myself. And this is why I go seeking out other people to talk to. But as I said, I don't always find people to talk to. So if I can find that one person who will at least acknowledge me, even if it's not in the best way, it helps me a little bit. Does it help you when somebody isn't helpful? I know that sounds strange, but I'm curious, because I don't know. Sometimes that's the best I have, and it kind of works. What do you think? Something else that I've been trying lately that I hesitated to do for a really long time, and it's something I used to do a lot, and then I just stopped because it felt uncomfortable, but now I think I'm so stressed out that I'm starting to try it again, is to just go on social media and just kind of like blast out how I'm feeling. And I don't get into details. I don't like call people out or like start drama or anything. I just kind of like say I'm feeling like shit, or like give a little bit of detail as to why I'm feeling like shit and just put it out there. And I know I have people on my friends list, because I don't really block people. That's just my personal attitude. I tend not to. I know there's people out there who will see it and they'll be judgy, and they'll say like, I don't want to hear it. Like, why are you complaining? Do something about your life. Like all that crap that we hear that's not really helpful information, that's just making things worse. But they think that they're making things better for some reason. I know that's out there, and I know it's going to come back to me. And so I expect that it'll come back. And then when it comes back to me, I just don't let it affect me. I think maybe in my past, when people would come back and say things like that to me, I mean, don't get me wrong, now it still bothers me. It still makes me sad that somebody would have such a lack of empathy for somebody else who's in pain that they would kick you while you're down. It still bothers me, but it doesn't get me to the point where it makes my mental health worse, because I just tell myself this person doesn't know how to handle these situations, and I'm just not going to care about what they have to say. But the reason why I'm starting to do this more is for myself. I can only speak for myself. When I do something like this, it feels like, at the very least, it's out of my system. I'm not holding on to it by myself anymore. And other people have witnessed it, even if they don't comment on the post, even if they don't say, like, even if it just goes by and nobody cares. At least I know that it was out there and it was witnessed. And for me, that's enough validation. I don't know why. I can't explain it. It doesn't even make sense when I say it to myself, but for whatever reason, it's helpful enough to kind of get me through to the next moment. So if that's something that sounds like that might work for you, go ahead and do that. Maybe just make it private so only your friends can see it if that's more comfortable for you. Figure out what works for you. Otherwise, it can be really helpful to get into support groups online. Even if you create a new account, like a fake account or a fake name or something, and just go in there, say whatever you need to say, get out. Maybe you don't even need to have responses. You just need to blurt it out somewhere. Go ahead and do that. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not you might bother people, you might upset people, but at the end of the day, most people that you upset and bother, they'll get over it. If you're really at the point of feeling like you're near a crisis, express yourself, get it out. I still feel like I'm not really coming up with a great answer for anybody who's watching here, but I'm trying. So hopefully just me even trying is helping you to feel a little better if you're coming here feeling like this. Because I get it. And I think sometimes even just going somewhere where other people are having problems and reading about their problems, that helps me too. It helps me realize no, I'm not really that alone in this. Other people have gone through similar things. I don't know. Maybe some of the best advice I can give is to try to, when you're not in these situations, maybe later, once you're feeling a little better, find people who do know how to talk to you, who do know how to validate you, who will be there for you, and understand that they're not always going to be able to be there for you. And this is why you should build a large support network if you can. Find a lot of people who might be there, because somebody may be on vacation. They may not be checking their phone, or somebody could be at work, or somebody could be in the middle of their own crisis. And we can't all always be there for somebody who reaches out. And I know for myself, there have been people who've reached out to me and I just never got back to them. And I know that's not the best behavior, but it's human. Nobody is perfect, and that sucks, but it's the way life is. And accepting that actually kind of helps me feel a little bit better when people don't get back to me. I do think it's really important that we have some coping strategies for when we get into this feeling. Now, there's a lot of different things that you can do to cope. I don't think I could possibly try to cover them here. I think what's best is to have some self-awareness about yourself. Maybe this is the time to reflect. Maybe this is a little bit of a wake-up call for you to think about this, and maybe this is something you can do right now to distract yourself from this feeling and to feel like there's something productive you can do. Because usually when I get feeling this way, it feels like there's nothing I can do and it's hopeless. But maybe there is something you can do. So maybe think about what got you here. Was there a specific thing that happened? Or was there a chain of events that happened, like a cascade, a snowball? Think about those things and take notice of them so that if something starts to happen again, you can say to yourself, okay, this could lead to where I was before. Let me try to change something and stop it from happening as best I can. But then also think about what helps you feel better. Notice the things that help you feel better. Have you been eating and drinking? Taking care of your biology, the basic functions of your body is really important. I know that when I get feeling like total shit and feeling like the world is ending and I'm the worst person in the world or whatever it is, that I don't eat. I don't drink. I don't take care of myself. So I have to remind myself when I'm feeling that way, like, get up and eat something, because that's not helping. You have my full permission. If you need to, pause the video, stop the video when it's over, whatever. Get up and get something to eat or drink if you need to. And by the way, you don't need my permission. If you are seeing a therapist or a professional or whoever, and it's just that you don't have somebody that you can talk to right now, well, first of all, see if that therapist has a recommendation for what you can do in these situations. Maybe you can text them, or maybe they have a resource you can use. But besides that, like, ask them, what can I do? What do you think is a good thing for me to do and to practice when we get into this situation that we're in? And hopefully they should, if they're a good therapist, have some ideas for you. And if they don't have a specific idea, they can talk it through with you. And maybe they're the ones who helps you to think about, like, well, how did I get here? How do I get out of it? Like, how do we change this so it doesn't happen as often, or it's not so intense, or it doesn't happen for as long of a time? Because that's really what they're there to help you with. All right. I don't know that I have a great answer here. I don't know if anything has been helpful, but what I would like to know is, what do you do in these situations when you have nobody that you can talk to? Is that why you came here in the first place? Because you felt like YouTube might be a good place to cope? Like, what do you do? I want to know, because I need more ideas myself for this, because this is one of those situations that's really painful for people. And I've been there and I hate it. And I get it, and I need the ideas too. So if you have any ideas, please go ahead and leave those down below in the comments. If you like learning about mental health, this is a place for you. Go ahead and subscribe, and I look forward to hearing everything that you have to say.